All right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about grading the San Jose Sharks during the pause. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about, by the way, the St. Louis Blues. Now, I've been shooting these videos in reverse alphabetical order, grading all 31 NHL teams. Last one I did was the Tampa Bay Lightning there. And throughout the rest of this video, I'll throw up some links to some of those other clubs and reviews that I've done already. Now, San Jose have just had an awful year so far. There's no sugarcoating this whatsoever. They ended up firing their coach in December. He hasn't been able, Buchner, the new coach, hasn't been able to do anything with the club. They've had some really key injuries. Their goaltending has been awful. And that's sort of the whole boat in a nutshell, isn't it? Now, they started off the season really slow with 4 straight losses, and then had a really good November, surprisingly enough, with like 11 wins or something. And then they just fell right off the wagon right after that. DeBoer got fired in about December 10th, I want to say. Bob Bugner came on, the ex-Florida coach and the assistant coach for the Sharks at the time. And he hasn't been able to do much. And I don't think any coach would have been able to turn this team around, to be honest with you. Not even someone like Barry Trotz, really. So now they lost their last 2 games of the season. They were 3-6-1 in their last 10. They had 63 points so far before the pause. 1 point back of the Los Angeles Kings. And they are last in the Western Conference. And definitely last in the Pacific. Now, they've had the key injuries that I mentioned before. Most of them didn't come until way after January. And I'm talking about Logan Couture. He got injured in March, possibly with a concussion. He might come back if the season resumes, though. Thomas Hertl is gone for the rest of the season with a knee injury. He got hurt in late January. And, of course, Erik Karlsson broke his thumb in the middle of February. So that's a little bit hard to overcome. But like I said, they were already bad way before that. Now, they made some trades. Doug Wilson, who's, when it comes to trades, is a bit of a bandit. But when it comes to signings, I don't know. Yes and no, right? Yes and no. Anyways, he traded away Barclay Goodrow to the Tampa Bay Lightning and he got a first-round draft pick for Barclay Goodrow. This is like a fourth-line player, maybe a spotty third. Yeah, he's decent at killing penalties, but he also takes like the 6th most in the league. First round pick, granted it's a late one, but who cares, right? They traded away Patrick Marleau to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They got a conditional third, not bad. And of course, they traded away one of their best defensive defensemen in Brendan Dillon, who's been there, I think, for his whole career. For a 2nd and a 3rd round pick in 2020 and 2021. Now, let's talk about some statistics real quick that I'll throw at you. Starting with the good news. Their penalty kill is #1 in the league. Boom. Unbelievable. How are they this bad and still have the best So that means their defense can't be all that bad, right? Even with some of the injuries. I mean, they should have the best offensive defenseman in the league in Burns and Karlsson, but considering how many goals they let in, I don't get it. Now, their power play is 23rd. They had some key departures during the offseason, and Pavelski and Donskoy and Nyquist, although he was a trade deadline deal guy. But that hurts, right? And Pavelski is one of the best tippers in the league. And I knew he had a career year last year in goals with like 34, 35 or something. But he's also around that age, 34, 35. And I knew after he had that concussion in the playoffs against the Vegas Golden Knights, not only will he probably be as good because of his age, but because of that injury, I don't know. And then the Dallas Stars weren't the best fit, were they? I know they needed goals, but for a guy at that age who's known to tip pucks in front of the net, I don't know. He hasn't been having a good season for them right now. Now, wins, they're 28th in the league. Points, they're 29th. There are 31 teams in the league, by the way, just so you know. Goals for, they're 27th. Goals against, they're 28th. Here's an interesting stat. There's not many non-minus players on this team. There's only a few of them. Couture is one of them. In 52 games, he's a 0. Brendan Dillon, who's now a Washington Capital, in 59 games, was a 0. And then there's Suomela, who's a center, and he hasn't played many games, only 20. He's a +4. He's like the only plus guy on the team right now. Now, Timo time! Sorry, I had to squeeze that in. He has the most points on the team with 49. Biggest point getter on the team. Evander Kane has the most goals with 26. And there's only 2 guys on this team with 20 goals or more, and I just named them. Yeah, that kind of paints you the whole picture, doesn't it? Let's talk about the goaltending really briefly. In 41 games, Martin Jones was at .896 so far this season. In 62 games last season, he was at .896. In the playoffs in 20 games, he was at .898. In 20 games, they made it 20 games with that kind of goaltending. Just mind-blowing. Now, the thing is, I like Martin Jones. When he was traded from LA via Boston, he had some decent numbers. He put up like a 918, a 912, a 915 save percentage. Not bad. And he was a monster for the Sharks in the playoffs the first few seasons too. A 923, a 935, a 928. What happened to this guy? Is it something psychological, something in his personal life? Is it the goaltending coach? I know Nabokov is, a legend in that town, but I think you have to consider, changing things up, especially when both goaltenders were stinking last year. Speaking of which, Aaron Dell is a UFA after this season, and hasn't been playing too bad. I think he's playing slightly over the league average in save percentage with a 907 in 33 games. They've been riding him a bit more, understandably so. Last year in 25 games, he was an 886. Him and Jones were just like hamburger helper last year. And in 2 games in the playoffs, he was an 861. But, the 2 years before this, he had some decent save percentages. 914, 931 in 20 games. In the playoffs, he even had some good numbers. So I just don't get it. Something is seriously wrong in these goaltenders, in their heads or with the goaltending coach. It can't all be the defense when they have the best penalty kill in the league. I don't understand it. Now, moving on to the defense. Speaking of which, Erik Karlsson was injured. As I mentioned, his thumb. He put up about wrong stat there. He's put up 40 points in 56 games. Not bad for him. He's a -15 though, like most of the team. Last year in 53 games, he had 45 points, and he was a +6. Now, right after Karlsson injured his ankle/foot with Ottawa, I knew that the rest of his career wasn't going to be as sparkly and shiny, and I'm not sure he would ever be nominated for like the Norris again. He's still a really amazing offensive defenseman, that's for certain. And he's not horribly defensively, but last year actually he kind of was. It's always like an ankle issue with him or a hip issue. Like he wasn't able to pivot properly. And you could see that guys were just blowing by him in the playoffs. Thank God he was playing with Brendan Dillon, who helped out a lot in that retrospect. Now, of course, Brent Burns has also been putting up a lot of points for this team. But even him has been having a bit of down season. I think he's only got like 40 or so points, I want to say. Brent Burns, yeah, where is he here? 45 points in 70 games. That's still pretty good, but a bit off for him. Vlasic has taken a bit of a step back, and the rest of their D is okay, if it was on any other team, a contender team, it would be fine. It would be good, probably even. So I don't know. Let's talk about the offense, though. After losing Pavelski and Donskoy, who is doing not bad in Colorado, by the way. In 65 games, he's got 16 goals and 33 points and is a +2. They also lost Nyquist. I think he signed with Columbus. But there just isn't enough offense there, really, right? After Couture got hurt, their oldest centerman besides Thornton was 25. yeah, how would I grade this team? I'm going to give them an E. I'm not going to give them an F. I'll give them an E. I'll be a little nice. I think this team is in need of a major, if not a rebuild, then definitely some kind of retool. And my unpopular opinion might be that they have to trade one of their big boys on offense and defense. Now, the three defensemen who are making the most money, of course, Burns, Carlson, Vlasic. One of those guys has got to go. Get some draft picks. They have one of the thinnest draft pools, prospect pools in the league. Hockey News ranked them last in the league right now. None of them are ranked in the top. None of their prospect players are ranked in the top 100. I know there are certain guys to be excited about. Artem Kanaviev had a few cups of coffee with the Sharks so far this season. Ryan Merkley looks like he might be good. Definitely offensively, he's working on his two-way game, but that could take a year or two. They need some offense up front. They could have used like a Lafreniere, and to have Ottawa be taking a pick which will probably be in the top 5. It just hurts the heart, doesn't it? In any case, I would love to hear what you would grade this team down in the comment section down below. Again, thank you so much for all your support out there. I've been getting some more subscribers lately. Thank you for all of you for jumping on board. And that's it. That's all, really. So please stay safe out there. And if you can, stay home. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.